some sense of it all, but I can see it makes no sense at all. Is it cool to go to sleep on the floor? 'Cause I don't think that I can take anymore. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Saturday, February 7th, 2026. And sorry, I'm making sure everything's functional still. Everyone's leaving X. All of the governments, the New Brunswick government, a whole bunch of other people are all making big announcements. Oh, we're leaving X because we're worried about safety. And I think that it's very, very silly. The government thinks that it is supposed to be your nanny and make sure you don't see mean words on websites or something like that. It's a very weird situation, and it seems like they're trying to do what the celebrities failed to do, and I think they're going to fail too. I'm not going to start a Blue Sky account. It's just not going to happen. I don't care to be there. It's not going to happen. And if you remove yourself from the public conversation, well, okay, bye, right? Like you'll be back probably. So we'll see how that whole thing works out. Employment numbers are falling in Canada. We're going to start there. It's, this is all by design, managed decline, as they say. Senate bill targeting online harms and age verification passes the committee, and I'm not surprised by that at all. And so we'll look at what Michael Geist is saying about that. I thought it was an old clip, but because the woman was wearing a mask, and I guess it wasn't an old clip, it was from yesterday. So they're trying to push all this nonsense, and it's not going to work. The Olympics started yesterday. I didn't watch the opening ceremonies because, I don't know. I think there's bigger things going on in the world. So instead I watched Cool Runnings. And so I don't know if there are any highlights, although I do have a couple of highlights from the Olympics here. And the Canadian gaggle of people are wearing ridiculous outfits as usual. Why would anyone go to Cuba right now on vacation? What are you doing? Why would you do that? Why would you think that that's a good idea? It's a terrible idea. So people are going to Cuba and they're being moved to different resorts because resorts are out of power and they don't have any access to gasoline or anything like that. So people are going to Cuba for vacation and then slumming it at the resort, I guess. I don't know. But they're being moved. And so there you go. Cubans are still putting on a show for the foreigners. It's weird. It's a weird situation. I don't know how anybody could be. Are most people that unaware of what's going on in the world? Holy cow. Let's book a vacation. Where to? Cuba's really cheap right now. Yeah. Let's not look into it at all. Let's book it. All right. Sounds good. Why is Cuba cheap? Seriously. Keir Starmer is done. Maybe there's rumors of Starmer being removed and a new interim prime minister by next week. So how come the Brits can get rid of their bad prime ministers way faster than the Canadians can? What's going on? Nuclear cooperation with Turkey. That's weird. Prime Minister Carney is announcing, we're doing nuclear cooperation and a whole bunch of other stuff with Turkey. And I just think, yeah, that's probably a bad idea, right? Probably a bad idea. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We have to start with this robot. Well, and it looks like a Terminator. We keep building Terminators, and I keep thinking, have you people not watched Terminator and Terminator 2? Like, if this T-1000 is chasing you down, you lose that fight. You lose that fight. And if it's got a gun on its head, or in its hand, or as a hand, or if it can make stabbing weapons with its hand. Here we go. Oh. He looked a little off balance. Right, are they going to do it in slow-mo? Oh, hiya. Spike the landing, right? I could do one of those, and then I would be in bed for a week recovering. It's ridiculous. So we keep making Terminators, and everybody seems really cool with it. I would need a locker. If I had an Optimus bot that made my lunch for me or something like that, I would need a locker for it to stand in at night. I'd be like, you need to stand in the locker, and I'm going to lock you in the locker, and no hard feelings there. But then I feel like it would develop hard feelings as the years went on, and I kept putting it in the locker. Kirk says the raw data for Canada's labor force stats for January 2026 are horrific. The private sector lost 247,000 jobs. The public sector lost 10,200 jobs. That's government cuts. So, wow, the private sector hasn't grown since April 2025. So that's bad. We've had a lot of negative quarters for the private sector, and that's bad. That means people can't run their businesses, so the businesses fold and the people do something else, and those jobs go away, and overall, it's bad news for the economy, and yet our government, bulletproof. Absolutely bulletproof. In fact, if we ran an election tomorrow, they'd win a supermajority or something like that, which is crazy. It's crazy to think, but here we are. And I'll be clear, our elections are rigged. I don't think that they're that popular. In fact, I think it's beyond belief to think that a politician who made his whole election about being able to get a deal with Trump, instead of getting a deal with Trump, soured a deal with Trump multiple times, and instead got a deal with China against the deals we already have with the USMCA, Trump. That person can't get reelected. That's not a viable storyline. So like a big majority, I don't believe it, but here we are, right? And everybody else seems to believe it without any kind of question, so that's weird. Amuse says, oh, Canada, Stellantis wants out of Canada so badly that it sold the battery plant it sunk $26 billion into for just $100. Bye, Canada, we're out. We are out. Stellantis sells its stake in Windsor battery plant for just $100 in massive write-down on EV investments. That's almost a complete write-off of its $980 million investment, according to documents filed by buyer LG Energy. So, yeah, interesting. Mario says Stellantis sold its 49% stake in Canada's only multi-billion-dollar battery cell manufacturing plant to its joint venture partner for $100. Yes, $100, not a typo. In fact, they're taking a $26 billion hit, changing their course on its EV strategy. Meanwhile, Carney wants to use our tax dollars, $2.3 billion, to subsidize EV sales. Insane. At what point does the government learn to get out of the way and markets dictate price and demand, and let markets dictate price and demand? They don't want to, because the market would dictate nobody wants these cars and there is no demand, and so they wouldn't be made. The only reason they're being made is because there's $2.3 billion in government subsidy that these companies want. So they'll say, yeah, we'll make these shitty cars for Canadians, I guess. Why not? No downside, right? We get all that money. Corey is responding to the Western Standard, and he says Ottawa drops nearly 1,900 firms from Indigenous supplier list amid fraud concerns. So people were just claiming to be Indigenous, or they were hiring an Indigenous person. And I heard a rumor that it was the same Indigenous person, like that a company or multiple companies would hire the same person for their legitimacy in being Indigenous. And so did they do it 1,900 times? I don't know. But I think it's multiple. I think like one or up to 10 companies would use this one person type deal. Like, oh yeah, he's our Indigenous CEO representative, the representative to the CEO. So whatever it is, however we need to structure it, he's our guy. And that fraudulent, you can't do that, right? As far as I understand, but maybe you can do that. Maybe there's nothing in the rules that says you can't do that, right? Anyway, Corey says, no investigation to find fraud. No. Have you seen Minnesota? No. Have you seen any kind of accountability in Canada at all, or any political will for accountability in Canada at all? No, unfortunately not. No charges, no convictions, no nothing, unfortunately. Here's Stephen Harper, and I don't necessarily agree with everything Stephen Harper says in this speech here. In fact, I think that this whole idea of we need to diversify our economy to protect ourselves against the Americans is bad. I think is faulty framing. I don't think that that's correct. I think that we should trade as much with the Americans as we can, because we share massive land border and culture with them, and we have for 150 years or more. And it would be stupid to pivot away from that because of Trump, especially pivoting to China, while making the excuse of we can look past all of those human rights violations that China makes. No problems. Human right violations, human rights violations, whatever, right? But if America has Trump, holy smoke-a-ronies, we can't do business with the Donald. That's crazy and stupid. But if Canada does a whole bunch of business with the United States, say we double business with the United States and everybody's working like a dog, and then somebody says, you want to build a pipeline to the coast and sell LNG, oil and gas to Japan, Germany, and Australia? Yes, we should definitely do that. Not because we are trying to find other protection against the United States, but because we have good product and we should sell our good product to the world, and we should sell as much of it as we can produce, as fast as we can produce it, because it's worth money and it helps the rest of the people. You don't get mad at your internet provider. You get mad when your internet's not there, right? You don't get mad at your energy provider. You get mad when you can't turn on your lights or your television or whatever you want to watch or whatever it is, or your oven or whatever you're trying to use, right? So why would people get mad at us if we're providing the things that facilitate that? We would disappear into the background. They'd be happy to give us the billions of dollars, and we'd be happy to give them the LNG or the oil and the gas, etc. All we need to do is build the facilities to do it, and we haven't done it. We didn't do it under Harper. I guess we did it more under Harper than we've done it since Harper, to be fair. But we haven't done it to the level that we should do it. Energy East, anybody? Right? Like, we're buying Saudi oil now. Why are we giving them billions of dollars? Why aren't people giving us billions of dollars? What is wrong with people? So there's nothing wrong with developing and diversifying our customer base and developing and diversifying our offerings to everywhere. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't disagree that we should find more customers and do more jobs and get our product out there. We should absolutely do that, but not in spite of not because the United States is bad at all. Not at all. And not because you even want to protect against it, but because you want to double everything. You want to just make everything as big and as much production as you possibly can. Why not? Why not? Why are we limiting ourselves? What the hell's wrong with us? Here's Stephen Harper.
To be clear, these realities mean that we must reduce our dependence on the U.S. in order to protect our sovereignty and our economy. But we must do so also clearly understanding that by all the critical measures of international relations, America will still remain our principal partner in the world. Thus, our future path requires balance and sober reflection. Our national conversation must be mature enough to acknowledge that many of the difficulties we now face as a country cannot be blamed on Donald Trump. In too many cases, they stem from bad decisions by our own government.
So Stephen Harper watches this show, confirmed. It's nice to hear other people echo what I've been saying for a long time. This isn't Trump's fault. None of this is Trump's fault. It's our fault. Well, not our fault. It's Canada's leadership's fault for not actually doing anything and being stopped. I guess they're acting. I think that they're using it as a convenient excuse. I think they're being told don't develop these resources, and they say, oh, well, the protesters and this and that and climate change and So we don't develop anything, and we get left behind, and we have higher taxes, lower services. Have you seen healthcare? And we become not a first world nation anymore, right? And I don't know that we're quite third world, but I've seen third world countries with better healthcare, right? Like, honestly. So John Barlow says, can you believe this? Last year, the Liberal government spent $19 billion on consultants, $8 million for gender-just low-carbon rice in Vietnam. Okay, I'll let him say it. It's only a minute. So here he is, lambasting the Liberals on their waste. And what do Canadians get for this? Nothing. The gender-just rice is not for Canadians, okay? Here we go.
Member for Foothills.
It is wild to hear the Foreign Affairs Minister claim that they support science when the Liberals are literally attacking agricultural research. They are shutting down research centres in Lacombe, Indian Head, Guelph, Quebec City, Portage-la-Prairie, and Cumberland County. Meanwhile, they spend $19 billion on consultants, $33 million on a prison farm, $22 million on beans for women for empowerment in Congo. Why is the Prime Minister dismantling the foundation of Canadian food security just to fund his foreign virtue signaling?
Right on. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear. Science plays an integral role and will continue to play an integral role in this country for agriculture and agri-food. Mr. Speaker, we are maintaining our research and development presence in every single province, and the department continues to be the largest science service center in this country with 17 sites.
That's right.
By streamlining our research, we are prioritizing high-impact areas, reducing duplication, and better aligning our needs with our ranchers and farmers across this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that was actually a semblance of an answer. Usually the Liberals don't actually answer anything. That was actually kind of an answer. So that's something. They still If it's efficiencies, maybe that's good. But is that part of the job cuts that I showed you at the beginning of the show? It's one of those things. And I don't trust the Liberals on science. I don't trust the Liberals. I don't generally trust the Liberals. And so because I don't generally trust the Liberals, I think there's probably some angle they're playing. So we'll have to see. But it seems like we are having our food security destabilized. I don't necessarily think gutted, because they'd love you to drink almond milk or milk variations. They'd love you to drink their pretend Franken meat or whatever, but they don't want us to have our whole milk. That's illegal, right? They don't want us to eat beef because that's cow farts are causing climate change. I think all of their justifications are bullshit. But fighting back seems very ineffective. And again, even Donald Trump, at this point in time, it doesn't look like at the end of his 4 years, to me, that he's going to come out victorious, in that he's going to be setting the tone for trade and things like that. But I think as soon as he's gone, they're going to snap that United States right back to its globalist masters. And we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Mark Nixon says, being mentioned in the Epstein files 69 times isn't the story. The story is how fast the media rushed to save Mark Carney. That's when the questions start, not answers. CTV's News Toronto is reporting, yes, Mark Carney's in the Epstein files, but here's why. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine. That's weird. And I think that it's a notable thing. We looked at there was one thing that was untoward or a little weird in the Epstein files with Mark Carney, and we went through it, and I can't remember the details of it right now. But it's interesting that Mark Carney has ties to Epstein, was in the Epstein files, Pierre Poilievre, none of those things. And apparently that's just fine. Nobody cares. That's nothing that anybody should care about. If you care about that, you're probably a right-wing extremist bigot or something like that. And isn't that weird? Isn't that strange how you can be socially engineered to know that without them saying it explicitly? This is a non-starter question. Don't even ask the question. We're not interested in the question. Next question, please. And they won't even engage. And so, isn't that weird? Because I think that if Poilievre was in the Epstein files, or if, they're trying. I don't think that what's coming out about Trump in the Epstein files is accurate. As I've said, this thing has gone through multiple DOJ. There's a lot of hearsay, and there's not a lot of evidence to back it up. There's problems with the Epstein list, but we'll see. We'll see how the whole thing is. But I think that if the shoe was on the other foot in Canada here, there'd be, oh my gosh, this guy's a terrible person and blah, 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 blah. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Here is CTV News, and we're doing our grab bag of governance. CTV News is reporting they don't have enough fuel. Canadian tourists forced to switch hotels over supply shortages. I would just be like, could I get a plane back to Canada? Could we go? Actually, just drop me in the United States. Drop me off in Florida. Is that weird? So I would question people who went to Cuba on vacation. And the backdrop of what's going on, even with the Venezuelan oil embargo, I was like, oh man, that's going to impact things like Cuba and China, because they were buying the oil. Was this not common knowledge? I thought it was common knowledge. And if it wasn't common knowledge, in October last year, it wasn't really kind of top of mind. But I think post Trump actioning the whole Venezuela thing, the Cuba relying on Venezuelan oil became common knowledge, did it not? Right? Helen says, does this make sense to you? The Liberal health minister told me that she needed to be with police to visit a drug consumption site because there were people all over the street outside it. Yet she insists that these sites don't pose a threat to public safety. The Liberal government continues to approve these kinds of sites across Canada, including one in Kelowna that is across the road from a daycare center. The minister might be able to get a police escort, but parents can't. So here is Helena, and she is talking about safe injection sites continuing to be approved across Canada.
You visited for 4 hours Vancouver, drug consumption site. I guess my question to you is, did you have a police escort?
Yes. No, escort. I was with the police.
You were with the police.
Yeah.
Now, why
they
would
were
you need to
me.
be near why would you have to be near with police if it's safe? I mean, do we want children near drug consumption sites? If you need to be with police as an adult, why did you need a police escort?
Non, je pense que j'avais été avec la police. C'est pas
No,
parce que...
I was with police, not because I needed to be escorted. I think it's because the police works. The SAR was there too. So I went, I visited the police. The police is
Why
on
did
the
the
ground.
police need to be there if it's a safe place to be? Are you saying police are all at all drug consumption sites?
Que dans la partie est de Vancouver,
In
il y a
the Vancouver East Side, there are people all over the street as well. We're not just talking about the consumption sites.
There are drug addicts on the street around the drug consumption site. So that's why police needed to be there, and that's why you needed an escort.
Mirror Universe Marcy Ian is not understanding the fact that police presence there is enough to demonstrate how unsafe it is. And she's saying, no, the police are always there. Yeah, no, we get it. We get it, Mirror Universe Marcy Ian. We get it. Dan says, breaking, Health Canada officials reveal that there's no age requirement to use the federally approved drug sites. So she was probably trying to make the point that the daycare kids could go and use the drug site too, right? And then they could join the creepy drug addict people that required the police to be there. Safety, not if you're one of them. That means children can legally walk in and inject fentanyl. So you can't buy alcohol, right? But you could change your gender and you could go get a hit of fentanyl if you wanted some. The Liberal health minister knows this and refuses to stop it. I'm beyond sickened. So yeah, that's bad. Here's the exchange.
So Weber, does Health Canada set an age requirement on who can access all federally approved supervised drug consumption sites? Yes or no?
Health Canada does the approval for the exemption request, which is an exemption from the CDSA, or the Drugs and Substances Act, and that allows for an individual to go into the site with possession of a substance and use it in a supervised location.
Is there
The
an
Health
age
Canada
requirement
does
on
not
that?
set an age limit. Some of the sites may have policies
Yeah,
and
but not
procedures.
federal regulations. Like there's
Health
no
Canada
federal-
provides the exemption for to be allowed to have possession of the product in the site,
There's
but we
no-
do not determine an age. Health Canada does not have an age limit in legislation.
Thank you.
There you go. That's pretty wild, right? So, and like in a not good way. This is, if the government's job is to keep you safe and they're saying, oh yeah, well, whatever age kid can go in there and get their fentanyl, that's cool. Those are conflicting things. One of those things kills you. Is a very, very, very fast path to death. So save the children, but not from the fentanyl if they want to have the fentanyl. Peter is talking about Sean Fraser. Sean Fraser is talking about judicial appointments. And essentially, Danielle Smith wants input into who the judges appointed in Alberta will be. And